Okay.
Well, it's up to y'all whenever y'all want to start. We can give it a few minutes if y'all need to.
Yeah, let's give it a few
give
minutes.
it a couple minutes.
Okay. Well, we'll go. Yeah, just let us know. We'll be ready.
Yeah. I got Rocky. Okay, let me just see who's on here. Gallery. Okay.
Hey guys,
Hi everybody. We've got
how's it going?
we're doing great. How are you doing today?
I am well.
Good. Great. There's some more people coming. There's Alex.
Yep.
Just give it another. We can start at in a minute. There you go. And there's Dave. Okay. Okay. All right. I think we can go get started. I'll just do a little bit of an intro. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our virtual site visit with Southwest Organizing Project. They are live from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Their mission is to empower disenfranchised communities in the Southwest United States to realize racial and gender equality and social and economic justice. Southwest Organizing Project was a Newman's Own Foundation grant recipient in 2022 as part of the foundation's Power of Food in Schools RFP. The grant-funded SWOP's project Feed the Hood food justice program that produces thousands of pounds of produce from their community garden located in the International District of Albuquerque. They also work with local schools to teach garden curriculum and assist with building garden spaces at the schools themselves. Today we have Juan Reynosa with us. He is the deputy director, and we have Mikhail Gray, who is the communications coordinator. He's who's pictured right there, and he's behind the camera. And is Mateo here too, or just the two of you? Mateo? Okay, there's Mateo in the background. He is the food justice organizer. So we have three people who are going to show us around their amazing garden. I first want to say thank you to Sam Lyman because he helped put all the technology together for this. I really appreciate it. So anyway, so I'm going to turn it over to SWOP. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Right on. Welcome, everyone. As they noted, my name is Juan Reynosa. I'm the deputy director here at SWOP, and want to welcome you out to our garden here. It's a really beautiful space. We've had it going on here for about 13 years now, but Mateo will explain a lot more history of that. But yeah, we're the Southwest Organizing Project here based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, multi-issue organization, 42 years old, do a lot of different community organizing in the community here. But you know, one of the things that we deal with in New Mexico is food insecurity. So one of our campaigns is around food justice, and it's called Project Feed the Hood. We just got our new T-shirts in recently. They're really awesome. But really, one of the people who does a lot of the work here is Mateo Carrasco. So I'm going to introduce him and let him show you all the awesome work that him and a lot of our crew does out here. Thank you.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm going to use my farm voice. I have a little something that's happening, so excuse me if I'm coughing and doing all kinds of stuff. It's kind of gross. But anyways, welcome to Feed the Hood. This is a space that's been cultivated for, I want to say, 9 years. Project Feed the Hood's history goes back 13, but we landed here in this particular garden about 9 years ago. So our garden is 1 acre. For those of you that know major farms, large farms, huge farms, that's nothing. I mean, that's a fraction of really small space. But here we're doing all regenerative agriculture, right? And so 1 acre for us means that we can do a lot of intensive agriculture in ways that a lot of other folks can't. We have multiple sections of our garden, so we're going to walk through, and I'm going to go through and show you all everything that we've been doing. So this space in particular is our milpa. So if you all can see, our corn is coming up. We are very late on corn. So for those of you that are gardeners, just know that we should be a lot bigger at this time of year. We had a very, very strange beginning of our season. So we had to actually redo everything at the beginning of about, I want to say June. So maybe the second week of June. So this is where we're at. Our growing season goes all the way into October. Last year, we didn't have our first frost until December 15th, around there. So we should be good with this corn, making it through the season and being able to produce seed for us. This particular strain of corn is called Urban Warrior. It's a strain of corn that was given to us by an elder from around northern New Mexico, around Taos, for those of you that are familiar with northern New Mexico. It was found in a clay pot while he was working in a field, and he decided that he wanted to regrow it and see if the seeds would go. The next year, he grew it in an acre. Only a couple of seeds came up, but enough to pollinate the rest. Next year, he revitalized the seed, and then it was given as a gift to us a few years ago, and now here we are cultivating it and planting it every single year. So whenever we go out and visit other folks, this is a story that's very tied into our culture and our heritage. And then even more so on top of it, the idea of the urban warrior is something that comes back, something that will continue to grow within urban settings. Is something that we like to grow symbolically, but also like to eat. I will say, Mick, if you could point the camera in that direction, you can see vacant lots that are running all the way down. Not sure if you guys can see that clearly. If you all can see that clearly, sorry. But I do want to say that one of the things about Project Feed the Hood that I enjoy doing is juxtaposing what this space looks like, which you all will see right now, versus the space like that. These are all sister lots of land vacant by the city, and we were able to reclaim and use 1 acre of the 5. And so what I like to do and look at when I talk to people about coming to this site is, what does it look like when community is empowered to take over public space, right? What does investment look like within space, and what are the different ways that we can regenerate not only our economies, our soils, but also our communities, right? So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and walk this way. I'm gonna show you all some of the different things that we've been doing. Mick, if you want to show our crew. So here's our youth crew. Roman, say what's up. Jose, Trayvon, what up? So we have a youth crew that's out here. So every single year we bring in students from throughout the country, from throughout the community, and bring them here to work. They get paid a livable wage to come and basically apprentice with us. So some of our schoolwork that we do is we go into schools, we build community gardens, we build school gardens, but then we also identify students that need more one-on-one mentorship and bring them into this space and provide them a more restorative way of working through issues that young people deal with, right? I do also want to point the camera this way. Sita Lee, say what's up. Everybody, you can say what's up to the camera. And then here's Amanda.
Y'all on TV.
Yeah, I know, right? So we have different organizers. Sita Lee is an organizer that works with the youth incarceration program. Amanda here in the green shirt that you saw with the glasses, she's our youth justice organizer. And then we also have a ton of other youth that are working in different programs. So our youth in particular had an interest in agriculture, whereas their youth have interest in doing different types of work. So as I said previously, youth incarceration is a big one. Folks that are affected by systems at play. And then Amanda's are youth that are learning youth organizing and different types of organizing practices. Again, a lot of the work that we do is based out of our relationship with the public schools that we have. Here in New Mexico, we have organizations called, or not organizations, but positions called the Community Schools Coordinators. And these Community Schools Coordinators are essentially organizers within the school that allow us to go in and provide programming, provide me the ability to go in, teach, work with youth, and educate. I was also a Food Corps service member, so an AmeriCorps service member that worked in the schools. And I did a lot of after-school programming too. So before I became the food justice organizer, I was working hand in hand with youth. So now here I am, being a farmer, being a food justice organizer, but also being an advocate and youth mentor. Can you show Anton? Anton, raise your hand. Woo!
It's Anton in the green.
Anton in the green. I do want to say Anton's a perfect example of what we're talking about with our youth mentorship. I've been working with him since he was 13, and he is 21 now. He just turned 21. He has been with us for 8 years. He has grown so immensely. I love him to death. And he is a perfect example of what it looks like when we invest in our youth and they become leaders in these spaces. I like to say that we're trying to work ourselves out of positions, and I'm hoping that some of these youth will be the ones that take the positions that we have as we move forward with our own lives and careers. So we'll move on this way. I'll show you all. I know I'm talking a lot about some of the programming. I'll get you guys interested or looking at a lot of the growing spaces and a lot of the things that we're doing here. This is our space where we process our food. This is also some of the only shade we have in our garden. So it's sometimes somewhat difficult to be able to have just a small space, but we work with what we have. We also have some infrastructure in the form of storage sheds and this, that, and the other. So we do have some amazing resources here. Not saying that we can't get more, but it's this is where our landing spot is.
Make it work. We make it work.
Yeah, we make it work. Coming this way, we open up into where the majority of our growing is going to happen. So first, I'm going to focus on this section over here. Mick, if you want to get on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah. But you guys can see how large this is right now.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this right here, we have what's called Johnson Sioux bioreactors, and I'll get closer. I just wanted to show you all what this looked like. So we have Johnson Sioux bioreactors. We have 14 of them. What we do is everything that we pull out of the garden, and Mick, you can show folks what this pile looks like. I mean, effectively, this pile is as tall as I am.
Yeah.
Hello.
Just for comparison.
These are all of the weeds that we're essentially pulling out of our space, and all of these weeds go back into our Johnson Sioux bioreactors.
Which are back there.
Yeah,
structures right
these
there.
structures back here. So our Johnson Sioux bioreactors take 1 year. They're static composting systems, and they're actually worm casts. So we inoculate them with worms and different types of fungi. Let them sit for a year, and then at the end of that year, particularly in the winter, all of this material that's here is going to go back into those systems. And then we can have, actually, real quick, I do want to show over here. Am I being too loud for you? John, not being too loud, am I? Okay. Okay, perfect. So can they see them in the back?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty small,
So-
but yeah.
Okay, so this is actually something that I do want to like touch on. Isaiah, so we have another youth group that's with us today. You picked a great day to come and check us out because we have a ton of youth running around. We have a youth group that's particularly working on media justice. And so right now they're capturing stories, interviews, all these different types of things. We're also learning how to run, how to do interviews, how to conduct interviews, how to use the cameras, all these different things. And you can see all of the different folks that are in different positions to be able to produce these types of interviews. So right now, our garden manager, Zia Martinez, is in the process of being interviewed. So we won't walk over there that way. I'll loop you all around the other way. But I do want to say that like this garden is a very dynamic space where things like this are happening all the time. So at any given point, I mean, sometimes we'll have our main crew, which is about 7 people, and then sometimes we'll have up to 80 youth. We also have field trips that are coming here consistently. So our relationship with our schools, the school gardens that we build, we actively work with teachers to be able to bring students here. So this year we were working with different charter schools and elementary schools to have field trips, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long field trips, along with working with the University of New Mexico and conducting these types of tours and having folks come out and volunteer and work. So let me push you all this way. Okay. So this space that's right behind me is our scale production area. So one of the things that we were able to develop within the last year, within the last 2 years, is something that we call the food hub. So when I was in food corps, I worked with a woman. Her name was Reina Luz Juarez. She was the best organizer I've ever met in my entire life. I aspired to be like her one day. And she was my direct supervisor while at the school as a community schools coordinator. And one of the things that we wanted to do was create a food hub. The food banks in New Mexico weren't serving the needs that we felt were appropriate with community. And in that regard, I mean, the quality of the food wasn't as good. There was certain access barriers that we had in terms of people having to provide identification, especially around issues like citizenship. People weren't able to access what we were doing. So what we did was, in collaboration with about 10 to 12 other organizations, was create our own food hub and our own food distribution network. So what you see right here is 60, 50-foot rows. Granted, there's all kinds of different plants and all kinds of different stages of being able to produce. But what we do is we harvest every other Friday and distribute all of that food and come and grab it for free. So everything that we grow out of Project Feed the Hood is completely 100% for free, and we're creating our own distribution networks to be able to do so. We're also building out our own community-supported agriculture, CSA methods within the immediate neighbors that are right around us. And then on top of that, when we're not giving to the food hub, we're also giving to mutual aid efforts and elementary schools, middle schools, high schools that have a need for it. So one school in particular we work with is the Native American Community Academy, NACA. For those of you that don't know them, you should definitely check them out. They are one of our partners where we distribute tons of food and healing medicines. So with that said, I'll take you into our food forest. It's a little bit of a walk, so come on. Am I good on time? How much time do I have?
You got another 10 minutes or so, and then we can do Q&A.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, you're doing good, man.
Okay. So we can do this right here in the shade because I need a little bit of a break.
Sure.
Okay. So if you're looking out into this area, this is what we develop as a food forest. So Nick, if you want to turn the camera right around real quick, that's the scale production area, just for folks to kind of get an idea of where we're standing in the garden. And then when we bring it back over here to the food forest, we have another third of an acre that's in production in a completely different style of growing food. So we have in the East Coast, or particularly the East Coast or the West Coast, or anywhere that's not the arid desert, food forests can look absolutely huge and stunning in the same way that most forests can look like. Here, our forests look a little different, especially in an urban environment like this. So what we have four different areas of growth. So we have trees, we have shrubs, we have herbs, and then we have like subterranean vegetables and different things that we're growing. So all throughout here, we've curated different types of native plants, perennials, medicine plants in particular, to be able to grow for the next 60 to 70 years until we need to redo succession planting. So one of the things that we want to show people, is particularly in the space and for young people that are coming in from schools or coming in from the community, is that there's different ways of doing what we do, right? We have our scale production, which is more classically farmer-based. Like, I don't know, I grew up in the South Valley of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and or not grew up, but I came up as a farmer. And one of the things that in that particular area is that it's very classical row farming, working with acequias. Acequias are like canals and waterways, but anyways, in this space though, what we're doing is we're showing what can happen when you're actively remediating land, right? So as I showed you all previously with the lot that was right next to us, we got yellow grass growing in July. Here what we have a lush meadow essentially. And so what's gonna happen is over time, we're having successions of plants competing with one another. And the hope is that we can get it to a point where this system is stabilized and the only input that we're really having to put in outside of just general maintenance for the trees is irrigation, is water, because we live in the desert. So if we don't provide the water, it's not going to grow. All of our irrigation and all of our water is ran on a highly efficient tech line system. For those of you that are nerds about this stuff, we have 7 valves that are all run off of automated irrigation, and it's all on city water. So we're almost dialed into what exactly we need and what not to be wasteful with. We're actually right across the street from a golf course too. So when I have issues and wondering whether or not we are using water responsibly in the desert, I've had a lot of mentors and a lot of people in my life tell me, look at what they're doing with water over there and look at what you're doing with water here. Don't feel bad about it. This is what it's for, right? Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna take you all into the medicine wheel and we'll be around some of the youth. So if you hear some noise, excuse us.
There's a lot of people here at the garden today. So Chewy.
Water here. Hey guys, I'm gonna be doing interviews, so okay. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So this particular space in our garden is called the medicine wheel. Mick, I don't know if you want to do like a little going around and showing people what this looks like.
It's just amazing, just how much growth and luscious greenery is here. Like you said, all of this goes back into the community.
So one of the awesome things about this medicine wheel is that we work in collaboration with community, right? So we developed and built the medicine wheel, but we work with another organization called Abuelas Medicinas. For those of you that are familiar with curanderas or not familiar with curanderas, they're essentially medicinal women, medicinal healing women, right? That exist in our community and our culture here in New Mexico and throughout throughout Latin America. But here in particular, what they do is they steward this space. So here you can see mullein. Mullein are these tall ones with the yellow flowers that we use for medicine. We have all different types of lavender, anise, we have fennel, we have all different types of things that can be used in a lot of different capacities for healing. And so one of the things that we do with NACA, in particular, going back to our work with the schools, is that we provide medicine herbs for our youth. And the Native American Community Academy particularly has teachers, particularly has teachers that are working and know how to have ancestral forms of knowledge come back and teach the youth about them. So what we do as Project Beat the Hood is we grow those medicinal herbs because they had issues with acquiring them in terms of buying bulk, in terms of buying this and buying that. The way we see it is it's our duty and our job to be able to grow medicines for our communities. And so what we do is we harvest it and then we give it to the school, and then we have teachers there that are actively processing it and showing students how to use it and how, best practices as it pertains to working with plants and our relatives that we have here in the garden. Yeah, I think the last section is we can come over here. Oh yeah, if anybody has any cats, this is all catnip. So if you want to come in and harvest, you're more than welcome to come. I don't know where you're at, but it'll be here.
Get it before the neighborhood cats do. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
I'm trying not to walk too fast so you guys can capture just how much is here, but Mateo's also walking pretty fast. I'm trying to keep up with him. Excuse me. There's just so much to see. So if you guys can come out and visit, you can check it out for yourselves.
Yeah, most definitely. So this particular area, this is a part of our garden that's one of the newest. And this particular area is used by a former middle school program. So Albuquerque Public Schools is very adamant about not wanting to let us use their spaces. The story goes that we had a partner, her name is Kate Porterfield, who began an organization called Wildcat Blooms. Wildcat Blooms was this school garden that was essentially the premier school garden within APS. Albuquerque Public Schools has, I think, upwards of 100 school gardens. So to be the best out of all of those is a very high mark. Most of these school gardens were created without the approval of any kind of district input or anything like that, because the school district is the fourth largest, I think at the time, fourth largest in the country. And so therefore, going through that type of bureaucracy and trying to get approval to do things just doesn't work. So a lot of our school gardens actually came from teachers just putting shovels in the ground and doing it. Kate Porterfield in particular built a beautiful garden in collaboration with other organizers. And she used to be a nurse there, right? They eventually retired and continued to volunteer at this space. Because she wasn't an APS employee anymore, eventually she was running her own summer internship program and she was denied access into the space because she wasn't an APS employee. So all of that work and all of that time basically went out of the door and she couldn't access the garden that she built. So what we decided to do was provide them a landing spot. So her internship and her organization continues to live on right now through this space that we have here. So this space in particular is a seed saving space. Seed saving is incredibly important to us in our culture because we don't feel like seed should be something that has any kind of label or patent on top of it. But we've had to reuse the space and essentially give it to the Youth Agricultural Cooperative, which is Kate's organization, to be able to grow. So I thought they were going to be here today, but there's upwards of 20 middle schoolers that are all working in this space along in collaboration with us. So yeah, that's an example of the work that we do, particularly when it comes to solidarity with the organizations that are working with us. And I think it's also an incredible example of the things that we have to navigate working with the school district here in Albuquerque. Not saying that we don't, but what I essentially do is come in and provide infrastructural support and technical assistance with whatever elementary school, middle school, high school within APS needs it. There's teachers here that want to teach garden education, but don't have the support through the district. And so my job, the very least I can do is provide them all the infrastructure so that they can teach lessons. I mean, our teachers are so inundated with everything that the least that we can do is provide them the tools that they need to be able to provide garden education. So we can't be everywhere at once. We can't be giving lessons all of the time, although we do in certain schools. But in this particular example that I'm giving you, what we're doing is we're trying to have as big a reach, a big a breadth of influence as we can by providing those supports that are lacking. So that's it. We're back to the chicken coop. I don't know if you all want to see the chickens. I wish you were here. We could feed them, but I don't know if we really want to get into that. So with that said, I think that's it for us. Does anybody, I guess we can open it up for questions.
Sure, yeah. Anybody have
That
questions?
was a lot of information too. So.
It was. Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I actually have a question. What do you do for your water supply?
So our water supply, so we're connected to the city's water, the city's water, right? So these lots were essentially like, you could use them for housing. There's a lot of stuff behind that, but there's a water main that goes straight from, I mean, we're in the middle of a neighborhood, right? So what we can do is we're connected to the water main, and then that water main goes straight into the garden. So we work in collaboration with the Albuquerque Water Authority. We have to pay for our water, but we work in collaboration with them to be able to monitor how much water that we're using, so that if there's any kind of breakage in any of our lines, or if there's any type of issue where we're wasting water, they can contact us immediately and say, hey, something's going on. But yeah, our water all comes from the city.
Flip around.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else have a question, or you could put it in the chat, or?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. There's so much going on in that space. Did you say that it's just an acre?
Yeah, it's just an acre, 1 acre.
It looks so vast as you tour it for us and show us all that is going on there. So it's pretty incredible. And what you're producing and harvesting and processing, did you say it's for the community? Do folks come by to purchase product?
So yeah, so it is for the community. We do not sell anything. Everything we grow is 100% for free. So we have different mechanisms of distribution. One of them being the food hub that I had mentioned, where we have a lot of folks that are collaborating, and it essentially acts as a food bank. We also have folks just coming and harvesting whenever they want. We have a CSA type program that's starting to get off the ground right now. And then we also give food to mutual aid efforts throughout Albuquerque. So we have a lot of food, so we have a lot of different ways that we distribute it.
And very interesting. And last question, what did you say the term or the name was of the medicine women?
Abuelas Medicina.
Yeah.
And I can also try and put that in the chat or forward it to someone who can. I can give it to Sam. Yeah. So you all can get confused.
Thank you.
Yeah. Abuelas Medicina. They have an Instagram page and a Facebook as well.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Great question. There it is. Thank you, Sam.
You got it.
Anyone else?
Yes, hello. I have a question, if that's okay. I'm so impressed by everything you do in Indeed 1 acre, and just the community aspect and all the links to it's really well thought out. I would love to know what your vision for the future of this initiative is. Is it reaching more and more people? Is it new sites, new geographies? What's the vision?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. I think right now, the most immediate issue that we have is capacity and support, or not support, but we need more people to work for us, right? We have a lot of youth that come in, and we don't have the resources to be able to pay them to continue to work with us. Currently, our garden manager isn't full-time, and that's the thing that we're trying to push for the fastest. I'm the only full-time employee, and for a space as large as this, we need multiple full-time employees. That's the biggest issue in terms of like reaching into the future. And that's more of like, funding issues that we need to address in terms of growing, and what does what does our growth look like in terms of our like physical space. And Mick, you could bring it over here. That's and I'm happy that we're standing right here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what.
all of these lots that are all right here are all owned by the same person, the same entity that owns the lot that we're on. So we actually had
Yeah, we're,
what does it
I
look
think,
like?
I think we're a little out of range.
The difference between that. Oh, we're a little out of range. Okay. Yeah. So the difference between Project Feed the Hood and then those other vacant lots, were you all able to see the vacant lot?
Yes, we could see it. We just
Okay.
couldn't hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So the vacant lot is that's another 4 acres of growth that we can potentially have. So when we look at it, we're not even thinking about just like gardens, we're thinking about orchards, we're looking at like greenways, right? We have a lot of neighbors that are walking through here. And so again, what does like investment in public spaces look like? I think that we have the capacity in the future to be able to look into these spaces and envision what a healthy community looks like on this planet.
Wow. Room for expansion. That's beautiful. It's great.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question? No?
Kathy, yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Hi, Bruce.
Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for sharing and touring us around. It's incredible what you're doing. I'm really curious to understand from a climate change standpoint. I mean, if you're a huge farm and you've got tons of resources to combat all the issues and challenges of climate change, I can see how they're making it through. But you're small, you're resource constrained. So how is the climate change, particularly, I guess, most recent hot weather that you've been dealing with, how is that affecting you? What have you had to do differently? How are you being challenged in that way?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones, so this is actually a good example. So in terms of climate change resilience, if you want to point the camera down here, it's a good example of like the ways that we're irrigating. So there's no spray irrigation, there's none of that, right? Everything that you see here is off of small emitters, right? Drop by drop, particularly into areas that have things that are growing. I think this was just seeded recently, so you don't see anything right here, but all of these surrounding plants, these are like tools that we have to be able to mitigate. So if you look around this entire space is ran off drip irrigation. So that's first and foremost, right? When we talk about water and climate and what we're facing, the biggest thing for us, particularly in the desert, is water. So making sure that we're using water as responsibly as possible is the name of the game, right? That's more important than the food that we're growing in a lot of times in terms of priority, right? And then in terms of the plants that we're growing, one of the things about the high desert is even though a lot of people like to think that the desert doesn't have things that are growing in it, things are very, very well adapted to exist in this environment, which means that we as seed savers, particularly going back into that topic of seed saving, save seed of plants that are drought resistant, right? So that the plants that we're growing here in this environment are particularly acclimated, and we cultivate them for drought resistance over time. Now that looks a lot different for a lot of different people, and it's incredibly difficult to do, but it's one of the things that we as a smaller entity have to be able to do, and teach our young people, right, about how to save seed and how to make sure that we're stewarding the next generation of life, right, in that kind of way, because we know that climate change is here. Climate change isn't going to go anywhere, but our communities are here and aren't going to go anywhere, so we have to make sure that we're providing techniques and agricultural methods that will be able to create and sustain healthy communities into the future. So hopefully that answers your question.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Anybody else?
Mateo, I had a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So you said that you have a lot of different community schools get to visit you guys on a weekly basis and stuff. I'm just curious to know, one, how many kids that you have that would be considered to be regulars at the farm, and then also you mentioned wanting to grow your CSA program. So how do you foresee that impacting the community and just the amount and number of kids that you could get on a more consistent basis?
Right. So in terms of the kids that I'm working with, So coming to the garden, it's a little bit more difficult because we do have issues with transportation. So particularly bus routes and bus drivers for APS makes it so that we don't see a lot of APS students here. Now, we do have Kirtland Elementary School, which is right across the street from where we're at. You don't got to point that way in there because you can't see it. But one of the things with Kirtland is that we have walking field trips. So over the last year, we were able to bring students consistently all year, almost the entire school, on a walking field trip here to come and check it out. Now, our charter schools, on the other hand, have a lot more leeway. So on any given week, we'll probably have between, I want to say 50 to 75 students that are consistently coming. And the reason why is because those students are able to be vanned in by charter schools that don't have the same kind of like regulations as a public school district like APS. In terms of the CSAs, you know, I think one of the things about the CSAs is that we never really did that great of a job. Mick, let's move this one. We gotta move this.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We actually have somebody coming in to clean the porta potty right now. So give me just a second. Where's Dia? Oh, she's over there. Anton. Hey, they're gonna be here for the porta potty. Can you handle it? Okay, thank you. Oh, it feels good to have help. But one of the things about the CSA in particular is that the CSA is something that we never really did, right? We were providing food to mutual aid efforts in the food hub, but we didn't do a good job for a long time of being in our own backyard. So one of the things that we started doing last year was really being intentional with flyering and getting community here and knowing that we're here so that we can provide food. So in reality, all things said, we're still in the process of even knowing how that's going to impact our community. Kirtland Elementary, like I said, is right down the street. So the students that are the young kids that are in this neighborhood are getting garden education because I get to see them every single week. But in terms of what does it look like for us to be pushing out food at scale to them also, that's the next step in our process and our project. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, the porta potty interrupted my answer.
Right.
Killed it.
Any other questions? No? All right, well, Mateo, thank you so much. And Juan and Mikhail, for taking the time to show us your beautiful garden and to give us a perspective on what exactly you're doing and the challenges. And you're just doing an amazing job. And to go to the trouble to do this live, it's we all so appreciate it so much. So thank you so much again. And I'm sure I'll be talking to one or all of you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Come for Balloon Fiesta. And if you do, then we'll give you one in person. It'll be fun. We'll eat.
That would be great. That would be great. Okay. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks so
You too.
much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.